this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own motion sensor using the same brake beam sensor that are installed on garage door openers. I'll go over all the parts you need, how to assemble them, the code you're going to need, and how this sensor appears and works with Home Assistant. Let's get to it. To build this sensor, it's real simple. You only need a few parts that total about 50 bucks. The sweetest part about building your own sensor is if you grow out of your sensor, you want to update it or completely change the way it functions, you can easily do that without spending more money. Let's go over everything you'll need. At the heart of the sensor, we need the D1R32 ESP32 board. This part is slightly more expensive than your typical ESP32 dev boards, but it's still relatively cheap. I got the board from HighlightGo for $10. I could have gotten it cheaper if I got a 3-pack from another company. I could have gotten it for like 17 bucks, but I like to get things from HighlightGo. I used to just shop for the cheapest boards, but I got burned out a couple of times with parts that just didn't work. I've never had a problem with ordering parts from HighlightGo. For the brake beam sensor, I got a 2-pack from Ransack. Not a lot of ratings for these sensors, but they do indeed work for the purpose I'll be using them for. Ransack has a 2-pack for $10.99. To make sure your board can properly power everything, it's highly recommended to also purchase a 12-volt adapter. The board from HighlightGo has a standard 12-volt barrel jack that will work with any 12-volt adapter you have. Again, based on the research I did, no one explicitly tells you that you need it. During programming, I used nothing but a micro USB cable connected to the board and my PC, and I was able to power everything just fine. So as far as I'm concerned, the 12-volt adapter is optional. And lastly, you will need some breadboard jumper cables. This comes in handy especially when debugging. The brake beam sensor have a 3-pin plug at the end of the wire, and instead of messing with it to plug it into the board, I can just use a male-to-male jumper cable to bridge the connection. It's fast, easy, and a great way to get a proof of concept before committing to stripping and soldering wires. And the jumper cables are cheap. For 7 bucks, you can get 120 piece. And that's it. I'll include all the parts in the description below. If you get the power adapter though, the total is right under 40 bucks. Now, one of the biggest benefits of creating your own sensor, aside from it being completely modular, is privacy. Your sensor stays on your network and talks only to your Home Assistant server. It doesn't head out on the web, it doesn't phone home, and it definitely doesn't send your data to some random server without your permission. Privacy is everything. Which is why NordVPN reached out to me to sponsor this video. I'm a proud cheapskate wandering the internet, clutching my wallet like it's my emotional support animal. Yeah, I've jumped between VPNs like I'm speed dating cybersecurity. This one's too slow. That one's too expensive. Bro, why are you buffering during an email? Then I met NordVPN, and wow. It's like discovering the fancy brand name cereal, but at a off-brand price. NordVPN gives you huge coverage, 167 plus locations across 100 plus countries. Basically, if there's Wi-Fi on Mars someday, NordVPN will probably have already a server there. And the features? Oh man, buckle up. Threat Protection Pro protects you from malware, trackers, ads, and even scam calls on Android devices in the US. That's right, your phone will now tell you, hey, don't answer that. It's probably your car's extended warranty. And it works even when you're not connected to the VPN, which is great because, let's face it, I forget everything. I'm the kind of person who burns water. Best part, one subscription covers 10 devices. So your phone, laptop, tablet, smart fridge, electric toothbrush, whatever weird stuff you own, boom, protected. NordVPN's got next-gen encryption and a strict no-logs policy, meaning they don't monitor or record your online activity, not even to judge you for watching 6 hours of Nick's YouTube videos without actually cooking anything. Fast, reliable, private, affordable, and finally, a VPN that doesn't make me question my life choices. So do your budget, your sanity, and your internet safety a favor. Get the deal, get NordVPN, and stop suffering with bargain bin VPNs like I did. All right, back to where we were. Okay, so once you have everything, it's time to assemble the sensor. Installing the cables is super simple. The brake beam sensors have a receiver and an emitter. It's real easy to tell which one is which. The receiver has 3 wires attached to it. It's got red for power, black for ground, and white for signal. The emitter only has 2 wires, red for power and black for ground. For power, you're going to connect the red wires to a 5-volt pin on your D1R32 board. And yes, this board does have more than one 5-volt pin. The black wires are going to connect to the ground pin, and the white signal wire coming from the receiver is going to plug into GPIO 14 or D14. And that's it. The sensor is built essentially after that. All you need to do is just push the Arduino code, which I will include in the description. I made it super simple as possible to set this up. But before you attempt to flash the board, you need to set some things up. First, if you don't have Arduino IDE installed, go ahead and install it. Then under Boards Manager, search for ESP32 and install ESP32 by Espressif Systems. After you install it, select ESP32 Dev Module as your board, then go to Libraries and install PubSub Client for MQTT. Then you can copy and paste the code I provided. All you need to do is enter your Wi-Fi SSID name, the Wi-Fi password, and your MQTT host address. This is usually just your IP address for your home assistant. Make sure MQTT is already set up. If not, I'll link an awesome tutorial from Everything Smart Home right here. Now, some tutorials, like Everything Smart Home, would have you set up a special account for MQTT. If you can't remember the account password, you can just create a new account for MQTT devices. Once you do that, just enter the account name under MQTT user and the MQTT password. Once all of that's completed, you can upload the code to the board. Now, I did run into several issues with uploading to the board. If you run into issues as well, here are some fixes that you can try to hopefully resolve it. In Arduino, I went into Tools and changed the upload speed to 115/200. I also enabled Erase All Flash. I made sure flash mode was set to DIO and changed the flash frequency to 40 MHz. After making those changes, I was able to successfully upload my code to my board. After a successful upload, you can open Serial Monitor and check on the status of everything. Make sure it's connected to your network, make sure it's connected to your MQTT server, and if all is good, if you take your hand and place it in between the beam sensor, Serial Monitor should report the beam as broken. And that's it. That's the hard part, believe it or not. If you need further proof that it works, just go into your MQTT in Home Assistant, go to Configure, scroll to Listen to a Topic, and type this topic, and click Start Listening. When you move your hand between the sensor, you'll see the results in Home Assistant. Once you're satisfied, just add the sensor by using Add MQTT Device. Give it a name, use this as a state topic, and for device class, select occupancy from the dropdown. If you want to use motion instead, you can do that. And if you're using the brake beam sensor to control a light for a room, it's important to set up a virtual light toggle. You see, the brake beam sensor reports 2 things: beam broken and beam restored. If you want to toggle your lights based on the beam breaking, you need to create a virtual switch to store the state that the light switch was on when the beam breaks or is restored. So for example, beam breaks, switch turns on, turn on so-and-so light. Beam breaks a second time, switch turns off, turn off so-and-so light. This means that if you walk into a room and break the beam, the lights will come on and stay on. If you exit the room and break the beam a second time, the lights turn off and stay off. This is what creating a virtual switch allows you to do. Now, you don't have to create a virtual switch. You can create a very elaborate automation to handle it. I did both methods, and for simplicity and reliability, the toggle switch is the way to go. Just like how you created the doorway beam entity, do the same thing for the virtual light switch. You can name it doorway virtual light. State topic is this. Command topic is this. Click save and you're done. Now you can create a light automation for the brake beam sensor you just created. This is by far the easiest Home Assistant build I've ever done. Now for the next few weeks, I'll be testing to see just how well the sensor works for light automation. Of course, right off the bat, there are a couple of issues I found. If someone walks into the room behind you, the lights will obviously shut off. So this is more for a private room where you're predominantly the only one that goes into and out of the room. My office is one of those places. The second issue is there is a limit to how far you can place the brake beam sensors apart from each other. The max limit is around 3.5 feet. That will work for a standard size American doorway, which are about 30 inches wide. Anything bigger than that will not work though. Now, I tried a couple of motion sensors, including mmWave. I did create my own mmWave sensor. You can find the link for that video right here. All in all, the IR sensors that I purchased online and the mmWave sensor that I designed and built have all been somewhat disappointing. My number one complaint is when the lights shut off on me when I'm inside the studio working. I thought mmWave would be the answer to this problem, and although it's much more reliable than those old school infrared motion sensor, it still suffers from the same issue when I'm on the computer working. Now the solution for the mmWave sensor is simple. If I mount the sensor on the ceiling, I could solve the issue with the mmWave not detecting my presence. However, running power in my ceiling just to power the sensor is not a task I want to take on right now. On paper, this brake beam sensor should resolve that. But even if you don't want this for light automation, there are a bunch of other things we can do with this. The only limit is your imagination. If you have an idea for a sensor for Home Assistant, let me know below. The next video can very well be your sensor idea. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon to see how the test went and find out if the sensor build is a keeper or a failed project. Check out this video if you want to learn how to build your own mmWave sensor for Home Assistant. Or click this video to see if Sony's latest PlayStation Portal update is enough to justify purchasing a PlayStation Portal. My name is Z, Stella Wego, muchachos. See you in the next one.